Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, however you're watching, wherever you're watching, however you listen, wherever you listen. It's the Bet Online to the Detroit podcast, and we only have 2/3 of the tripod, but that's all right. Bet Online is brought to you by betonline.ag. Go to betonline.ag where the games start. Get all the up-to-late minutes, live action, odds, and everything you need to make it a little bit extra cash. It's also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Go to Underdog Fantasy app or UnderdogFantasy.com. Put in promo code USCLAFB. And get $100 match, up to $100 match. We got the Madman here. Madman, how are you doing?
Doing great, Coach. Dun, 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 dun. It's Michigan week. I'm getting shades, Coach, of the original Philly special from Mike Will to Matt Leinart, the Statue of Liberty, and then I'm getting shades of JDB with still a Rose Bowl record, 8 touchdowns over 2 games. So a lot of great memories here, Coach, and hope to make some more at the big house, El Casa Grande, on Saturday.
We do have Michigan Trojans still number 11 off of a bye week. Everybody's healthy. Everybody's expected to play. But, Madman, what if I told you this gives vibes of a trap game?
Ooh, I would say, Coach, you perhaps may be onto something.
What if this gets vibes of a trap game? And let me tell you why. And if you watch the show, from yesterday that was posted yesterday, and I've been saying that I actually went on Tim's show too, and I mentioned this too. The should and could has flipped in this game, right? SC should win, Michigan could win, right? Everything is lining up. I don't see any way SC loses this game. I don't see this. I don't see that. There's a lot of factors that are setting this up as a trap game. It's just Michigan. Michigan's not as good. There's no reason why SC should lose. SC looks really great. Oh, yeah, Orgy starting, and that was the biggest kryptonite of SC's defense for the last 2 years. Oh, yeah, SC, do they know how to win? That's what everybody has yet to figure out. Do they know how to win? It's easy. It's really easy to lose as a losing team, right? It's just a normal thing. You line up, you go, you lose. It's hard to learn how to win, and it's hard to learn how to lose as a winning team. And I'll explain both of those for you, right? Learning how to win is executing everything the same way consistently for 12 weeks straight. If you know how to do that, you are a winning program. Teams that don't know how to win the first couple of games and expect for people to be scared of the name on your jersey. Oh, we're 6-0. You should know who we are. And then you start playing sloppy. Next thing you know, you lose 5 games straight. And you say, hey, what happened? You know what I mean? Learning how to lose as a winning team is you may lose one. Nobody's perfect. Last time we saw an undefeated team in the NFL, I wasn't even born yet. It was in the 70s. We haven't seen anything since. We saw something close to it. The Patriots lost to the Giants. But learning how to lose as a winning team is you may get knocked in the chin once, but what do you do to fix it? How do you come back? How do you perform and be great? This has all the makings of a trap game. This has all the makings of us being on here on Saturday afternoon like, what just happened? And if it does happen, it's okay. How do we come back from it? We all expected SC to lose this game, but like I said, the shoulds and coulds have completely flipped on this game within 4 weeks, right? And now everything's a lot of changing. So there's a lot of questions, but this game needs to be taken as we're still the underdog. SC still needs to put the chip on their shoulder. I'm gonna kick it to you, but there's also other points that's happening in this game, like i.e. must win. Prove it game. There's a lot of things that's going to happen, but go ahead. I'll kick it to you. What is your excitement about this game? What do you have coming forward?
No, Coach. I mean, it's just a lot of storylines to your point, and I think it's a lot of storylines on both sides of the ball. I mean, first, obviously, we start with the home team in terms of the podcast's home team, the Trojans of USC. I think what's going to be fascinating is, to your point, after a bye, 2 weeks, opportunity to rest, recuperate, and have additional time to prepare, but also an opportunity to hear from the national media how great you are. And these last 2 weeks has been, one big compliment fest, from the likes of Colin Coward to the likes of Jay Crane to, so many people in between.
Even Joel Klatt.
I mean, we've just heard how good USC is, and rightfully so. It's been a great first 2 games, a terrific start for this team, and really sort of putting the pieces together. But how do you sort of block out that noise and go ahead and execute? And I think the other piece, Coach, is I think there's also sort of a storyline here. First time kind of going a first true road game. Obviously the Las Vegas game was sort of neutral site, 50-50, a lot of electricity there. So how is this team going to react to, a pure road game, hostile crowd, a desperate team, and sort of deal with that atmosphere, number 2. And then number 3, I think there is a little bit of a perception here. Was USC's win over LSU as big as what we thought it was right when it happened? If you look at sort of LSU since, tough game they had afterwards. I mean, Nicholas State, it was 23-21 midway through the third quarter. They looked really sloppy last week against South Carolina. Probably should have lost that game, kind of got bailed out by the refs there. So, obviously a great performance, but maybe LSU wasn't sort of the LSU that we perhaps thought they would be this year. So there's, I think, a prove it element there. So I think those are kind of the 3 things, I think, from a psyche perspective going in. And then you flip it around, Coach, with Michigan, and just so many questions. I mean, they got their doors blown off against Texas, a team that is very similarly constructed to USC. And then in their other 2 games in between against Fresno State, that was a 13-3 game in the fourth quarter, 23-10 with Fresno State driving. They got a pick 6 to kind of make that score look wildly different than what it was. And then a game against Arkansas State last week where starting quarterback Davis Warren threw 3 interceptions. It was sort of ironic that he completed all 14 of his throws. Unfortunately, 11 to his guys, 3 to the other guys. And so, you'd walk away from that game saying Michigan hasn't really solved very much. And I think the big question for Michigan right now is any semblance of verticality to their offense. I mean, right now, their leading receiver, Coach, their overall leading pass catcher is their tight end, but their leading wide receiver has 56 yards cumulatively over 3 games. That means their leading receiver is averaging 18 yards receiving a game. They just have no semblance of verticality to speak of. And so that's going to be the big question against this vaunted Danton Lynn scheme. How can you be so one-dimensional going up against this particular unit? And then the last element is the new start of Alex Orji, who was their sort of decorated prospect. And what's interesting there, Coach, is 6'3", 236 pounds. He's 3 pounds heavier than their starting running back. So, it's just a very interesting dynamic there. Lots of questions with Michigan and more on the field. And I think questions with USC, more like verifications off the field in terms of can they handle the success? Can they go into a road environment, and can they take care of business? So lots of excitement on both sides of the ball. And, Coach, the last thing I'll say before kicking it over to you, finally the odds makers, had some sanity juice, and the thing swapped from, 9.5 Michigan to 5 right now USC.
So apparently, according to Britt, nobody's able to bet on ESPN. That Bet ESPN thing, and nobody's able to use that app. I don't know. That's what she said. Because I'm like, they're going to get taken to behind the shed. They're going to get so much money with that. Like, there's no way you could do that. So I guess nobody was able to put it in. If somebody did put it in, I would have put $2,000 on that for sure.
Yeah, totally.
Guaranteed, like guaranteed cover. But I will say this. So this is an interesting game for both teams, right? And when I say this is an interesting game for both teams, let's talk about the Trojans. The Trojans, this is a prove-it game. Right, it's going. Can you go play in front of 150,000? Can you meet the expectations to what everybody expects? But oh wait, even if you beat Michigan, they're not that good. Can you do it to Penn State? Right, and then if you lose, how do you lose to Michigan? They were with what they thought. They were what we thought they were. Like, it was just LSU wasn't good. They beat Utah State, but they can't beat Michigan. Michigan's not good enough, right? Also, you got to remember, This is one thing we found out too. Last time SC and Michigan played outside of the Rose Bowl was like 1958. But I think SC has like a 7-2 record in the Rose Bowl against USC. I don't know the exact numbers. Don't kill me for it, but I know it's very, very big. And I always wonder, like, SC can't handle in the Big Ten, but they always beat the team. They have the most wins in the Rose Bowl against the Big Ten. So that never makes sense to me. But
their most wins in the Rose Bowl, just period, Coach. I mean, 25 Rose Bowls. I mean, so and up until obviously the modern era with with how the playoff kind of played out, it was still always Pac-12, Big Ten.
Yeah, so that one too, and so it gets weird, but that's why I say SC needs to have a chip on the shoulder. This is a very, very big game for Michigan. This game right here determines their whole season. Unfortunately, week 4 in the NCAA determines Michigan's whole season. They lose. I don't see them having a shot of making the college football playoff. Their whole season is right. This is their Super Bowl. They're going to come out punching way above their weight class. They're going to come out playing for all they have because they understand what they have going on, which I expect because this legit is a game. This is a make or break game for them, and it's either break them or make them. I will say this. Don't count Michigan out for future years to come down the road. I think this is going to take some time to build. They're in a very, very, they're like Ev right now. There's no flow. Their market crashed. They're rebuilding. Give them some time. I'm not counting Michigan out for future games down the road, but right now I don't think we caught them on a good year. And 2 years when they come to the Coliseum, we better be ready because if we win this thing, they're going to want some get back, and they're going to want get back for real. So that's kind of.
Coach, they also may need to just find their binoculars again, and they're going to be okay, huh? They've lost their binoculars.
Connor? What's the dude's name? I don't remember the dude's name.
Stallions, Connor Stallions.
Yeah, Connor Stallion. Connor Stallion is probably after Utah and in Vegas. Like,
yeah,
so definitely that works too. But there's also other issues too. I'm gonna kick it over to you on that one. See if you have anything to say that. But after that, we'll get to scheme because they have some scheme issues.
Yeah, no, I mean, Coach, no question about it. Look, I'm going to take it one step further here, Coach. If Michigan doesn't show life, I'm not going to say necessarily win the game, but if they don't show some life offensively from just an improvement of where they have been over these first 3 games, forget about making the playoff or not. If they have a similar performance against USC the way they have these first 3 games, they're not finishing in the top 25, and you can take that to the bank. Because they're going to get their doors blown off against Ohio State, and they're going to have a hard time going up against some of these other offenses on their schedule. Because they're right now in a situation, Coach, where if they fall behind by 2 scores, the game is basically over. I mean, they just cannot strain a defense to speak of right now. So I'm excited to sort of get into it with you from a scheme standpoint. I think there's some interesting wrinkles that we're going to uncover over the course of this episode. But this is a desperate team at home here that's not only playing for their season from a playoff standpoint, I think they're playing for their season just from a respectability standpoint, because I don't think this team is going to finish in the top 25 if they don't show some improvement this week.
So, yeah, let's talk about scheme. So first, let's talk about what Sherrone Moore did. And a lot of people are like, why did he just pop out and say, why did he pop out on Monday and say
and announce origin?
Well, I would have done the same thing too. Let me tell you why. SC just spent the whole week preparing for what's his name? Davis Mills, Steve Davison,
Davis Warren.
Yeah. Davis Warren, yeah. That guy.
Insert investment banker name here,
Yeah. Davis Warren. They spent the whole week prepping for Davis Warren. Then all of a sudden, they come out Monday and say, oh, Davis Warren isn't playing. It's Alex Orji. Well, they already had a game plan in for a whole week. Now they have to go and revamp a whole game plan and start regaming for Alex Orji, which they have no idea what they're going to do with him because there's only 7 clips of film with him. Unless they go find the spring game. And I don't think their spring game was televised. I could be wrong. Unless they go find
Maybe
the spring
we'll go ask Stallions, for it.
Yeah. So that's the thing, too. the defense side of the ball, they're too complicated. And we talked about this yesterday. I'm going to talk about it again. Monty Kiffin, when he was at SC, and everybody was like, when he first got there in the first half of the season, a lot of people were like, what's wrong with SC's defense? They just seem lost.
I remember that.
They seem out of it. And it just basically came down to it's too complicated. In the NFL, there's a check for a check and a check for a check, right? At college, there's a check for a check, right? The third check now confuses a college player. In high school, there's a check. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we're like, high school's 100, college is 200, NFL is 300, right? And some players could get to the 400 level. This depends on how it is. But like, when you come down to college and you make a check for a check for a check, you start to confuse people because it's one more check and things are moving fast. I want to show you a little bit of something here too, of what I have.
Coach, before you go there, and I can't wait to see it, let me ask you a question here. You talked about the announcement of Orgy on Monday, and SC taking one whole week to prepare for Davis Warren. Now they got to go change it up. But wouldn't that logic state then you want to keep them prepared for Davis Warren for 2 whole weeks and then just come out and shock them with Orgy? How do you see that?
Because you don't get so for a bye, you get a complete Monday to Friday, right? Like you could practice however you want for a bye Monday to Friday. During game week, you basically get Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And if it's a bye week, but if you just came off of a game, you really only have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Friday's a walkthrough, get on the plane. And in this situation, they're already in Ann Arbor. You know what I'm saying? They're going to do their walkthrough in Ann Arbor tomorrow. So you got a short practice on Thursday, and then you're going to do a walkthrough in Ann Arbor tomorrow, and then play a game. So you really only have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You get what I'm saying? So
you're saying it kind of doesn't matter in a sense because a lot of the days have been there. And quite frankly, Coach, to that point, even if you keep it hush-hush, but if you've got Orgy taking all the first team reps on practice on Monday, that's going to leak and that's going to get out as well. So
unless you close practice.
Yeah.
Unless you close practice. Yeah. And then you pop it out.
But again, so you think that even those few days of knowing that Orgy's the quarterback, you don't think that's definitive enough in terms of, hey, we'd rather just not even give USC those 3 days to practice? Like,
right. But the only advantage, I don't mean to cut you off. I'll let you have it real quick. The only advantage is that they don't know what they're going to run with Orgy because there's not very much film with Orgy. So we might see a lot more shotgun QB power and things like that, but that we don't know exactly what they're going to do. We know what they're going to do with the Mills investment banker guy, but we don't know what they're going to do with Orgy.
Okay. So you're saying, look, it doesn't matter. If the fact that we went one whole week without, with the wrong quarterback prep, if we tell USC Monday that it's going to happen with Orgy versus not tell them at all, you're saying, hey, those few days don't really matter. Because if it were me, Coach, I would keep it under wraps. I'd close practice, and I'd shock SC with Orgy Saturday at 12:39. I mean, because even those 3 days, not getting Lynn the opportunity to even have 3.5 days of preparation with the right quarterback, to me, would feel significant enough where I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, but you're right. You couldn't do it like that. And when I mean preparation, and I think a lot of people don't, and I need to explain preparation, right? So I can only speak on when I was there. So we had Sundays off. Monday we came in. It was called Tell the Truth Monday. We went over our game film. Then we started on the next game plan. We went out to the field with shells on. We made corrections, and then we started working on the next day game plan. Monday's practice was an hour, 15 minutes at most, right? Tuesday, we got to work on the next game plan. Watch all the next team's film, ran all their scout plays, did everything we needed to do. Wednesday, same thing. Thursday, exact same thing. Friday was a walkthrough, unless we travel somewhere, then we walk through morning on Monday on the morning, and then we win. Unless we're going across country like Notre Dame or Nebraska or Arkansas or something like that, we will leave late. We'll leave late Wednesday night. No, we'll practice Thursday because we'll get there Friday. We'll leave late Thursday, so we're practicing to get on a plane and get into the next town we were in on a different time zone late that Thursday, and then do a walkthrough Friday, play, and then come back. So there's some type of preparation because you break down all the film, and there's a bunch of film breakdown that goes to it and everything like that. So there is preparation, and they're not prepared for orgy. And I'm not saying it in a bad way, but we don't know what's coming. Also, this is a hardball disciple. Mills may come out and start. He might be messing with us that way too, right? Yeah. This is the guy who put all the Star Wars characters in his depth chart. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
They come out and start. So this might be throwing them off too. Like, you might be preparing for quarterback power, QB read, RPOs, and the next thing you know, you get this whole thing. So there's a bunch of stuff that's happening that could happen. We really don't know. I don't think they'll be prepared to the fullest, and it may take a couple of series like it did with LSU just to kind of figure it out for them to get a feel. And then once they get a feel, they could get off and running. You know what I mean? Compared to if they just had the full acknowledgement of who they knew the quarterback was and what they were going to see, and just come out and dominate.
Gotcha.
Does it make sense?
Yeah. No. And I love how you've just sort of called him Mills. You know, Davis Warren, a.k.a. Mills. You know,
I don't know how. For some reason, I have Davis Mills in my hand.
Well, you know, that was the former Stanford quarterback. You know, quarterback of the Texans a little while ago and all that. Yeah. So I mean, hey, one Davis is as good as the other. You know, it's like how Shaq used to say. Remember that the Fisher .4 shot when Duncan right before that hit that one-handed fadeaway. And Shaq said, one lucky shot deserves another. Well, one Davis deserves another, according to Coach.
Well, I'm sorry, Davis Warren. Sorry, not sorry. But let's just pop in it. Let's pop in this real quick. I want to talk to you about this. So what I have here is Ravens film from 2000. And at this time, Wink Martindale was the defensive coordinator. So it's here against the Chiefs, right? The Chiefs are in... I guess we could call that 21 personnel. Let's see if he gets set. Yeah, 21 personnel here. And to me, I didn't see a lot of zone from Michigan in the games that I watched. And I think they live in man and die in man. And that's one thing you cannot do is live in man and die in man. And so that's the problem. Hold on real quick. Hey, Ryan, when you edit this, let's take that NFL logo out so we don't get scratched off off YouTube. All right. I think he lives in man and dies in man. So that's one of the things that's really suspect. So in this situation here, he lives in man and dies in man. The problem is, and this is where the complication comes. So they pretty much they shift the tight end, right? So if we go back and you see him shift the tight end, steps off, steps on, does everything right. Look how many people move just for a tight end shift. You got a guy coming over here. You got a guy coming down here. Ideally, in an ideal world, just bump it. Or you're still getting the same integrity of the box, but instead you want to bring this dude all the way over. If Lincoln catches things like that, he's going to go fast and he's going to move people, put people on fly streak, and catch these guys out of perspective and out of pocket. I think this is the weakness with Wink Martindale's defense. It's the check for a check for a check. Right here, you're seeing a check for a check. It's the same offense. It's balanced receivers. All you have now is instead of Queen, it now becomes King, but it's the same thing. Same numbers and everything. Just bump the box. Don't make everything so complicated. And he's making these things complicated for these dudes. And that's where Lincoln Riley is going to have the advantage on offense. And Miller Moss, the way he is, I think he's very patient. I think Miller Moss is going to take advantage of this, and they're going to move fast. This is going to be the most patient, fast offense if you see a lot of movement from the defense that you'll ever see in your life.
Well, no, Coach. I mean, it's such an excellent point and analysis. And I think, look, what is the goal of any sort of pre-snap motion, right? You're trying to figure out, number one, is the defense playing man or are they playing zone? But also, as a byproduct, to your point, you're looking for, with just a single motion, how much movement am I generating just off of that? So how susceptible are you to sort of variation of the formation? And I think if Lincoln, to your point, sees that, he's going to say, aha, any little subtle variation, Coach, to your point, is the counter to the counter. Now I can potentially have these guys on skates. I'm going to stack receivers on one side. I'm going to create motion on the weak side. I'm going to do a lot of crossers. I'm going to do, sort of a lot of things where I can build my route tree over the course of this game. So I think it's going to be really fascinating to see. And I think this is a game, Coach, where, to your point, Michigan loves to sort of play man-to-man. They got Will Johnson, who's arguably not just the best corner in the country, but some say even the best player in the country. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see where Will Johnson lines up relative to USC's receivers. Line up on Branch? Is he going to line up on Lane? Who are they going to sort of select as the guy that, is really being targeted by Will Johnson? Or are they going to really sort of focus on one side of the field, potentially where Will Johnson is? So I think that's going to be a nice little cat and mouse game moving forward. But again, Coach, I think the ability to sort of stay alive on the back end on these individual islands is going to come down to your pass rush. So this is going to be a really interesting game to see how USC's offensive line.
Hey, watch your mouth.
USC's offensive line, plays in this particular game. I'm gonna say why I had the Freudian slip here, because there's something really interesting, I think, with Lynn's defense, particularly in this matchup, based on what I saw from Lynn's defense at UCLA last year. But I think this is going to be kind of the cat and mouse game of where is Will Johnson going to line up, Coach, in terms of what side of the field or with what receivers. And then as a result of that, how much reliance is Michigan going to need on a pass rush against this Trojan offensive line?
Also, to be honest with you, I think Woody Marks is gonna make my statement when we're talking about who's the best transfer running back. I think this is going to be one of the games that's like I told you. I think Woody is just so good. I really do. And I think this is going to be another Woody Marks coming out party. We're going to see a lot of power up front, and I think this is going to be the issue. And Lincoln Riley has the same issue. He still tries to be cute, which almost lost us the LSU game with the trick play, and he still tries to prove his point and be stubborn. So up front, he's going to say, hey, we can run power too. I'm going to show you I can run the ball against the Big Ten team. This is not the game to do it, because you could take advantage of the complication of the complex of the defense. Right. You got Minnesota, you got Wisconsin, you got a bunch of teams you could do it against and show you can run the ball. This is the game where you could do your stuff. So hopefully he just comes out and just does his stuff and not tries to, but he can still run power, run inside zone. And I think Woody Marks is going to make the best of what he has. And hopefully he gets 20 carries again. 20 carries for Woody Marks is a victory for USC. And I love 20 carries consistently. You know what I mean? So hopefully we get 20 carries and we get something out of Quinten Joyner too. But that's also what I think. I want to kick back to you. If you could rebuttal on that and then go straight into your Freudian slip and tell me what you see on the defense that reminds you of last year.
Yeah. No, so Coach, I think spot on. I think we're going to be looking for, the thing that Marks has really an advantage over some of the previous running backs in the Lincoln Riley regime at USC is sort of his shiftiness in crowds. He kind of finds, like, he'll hit a hole, the hole is crowded, but he finds a way to sort of squiggle his way out of the hole and find some daylight with not necessarily like a LaMichael James or Le'Veon Bell, type of patience, but he's got this sort of squiggle to him of being able to sort of find a crease moving forward. And I think that skill is going to play a big role. Look, I still think Marshawn Lloyd, Coach, is the best running back that Lincoln has had at USC, but let's see. Let's see Woody prove me wrong here starting on Saturday. And I think it's going to be a tale of two running backs here and running games, Coach. Is this going to be a USC running game that was relatively stifled against LSU? Really, against LSU, it was just the two Woody Marks runs at the end of the first half when LSU was more in prevent and they had sort of kind of were conceding that field goal, and Marks got kind of those back-to-back runs for 30-plus yards cumulatively, and then the final run, which was the touchdown run, where LSU kind of crashed at the line, and Marks kind of found the hole and it was basically no one back there in the middle of the field and he was able to get in? Or is this going to be more of what we saw against Utah State? A lot more intentional, a lot more methodical, a lot more holes, a lot more balance, not just with Marks, but with the others. So I think that's going to be really interesting. And so, Coach, to flip it on the other side, what I found was fascinating. When I looked at Danton Lynn's kind of game by game last year and saw it up close and personal with UCLA, is the two games that UCLA struggled defensively last year. There were two in particular. One was at Oregon State. One was at Arizona. And the only thing that was sort of common, there was sort of a common thread that emerged with both of those games. Both of their starting running backs, Oregon State as well as Arizona, starting running backs were 230 pounds or more. And it was Jonah Coleman with Arizona and then Damian Martinez with Oregon State. Both those guys had 16, 17 plus carries. And what you saw over the course of that game was it was the only two games last year where the Danton Lynn scheme, the front four started kind of wearing out. They didn't have the same pop that they did at other moments in the season. And that kind of opened up play action. That sort of opened up some West Coast concepts of getting the quarterback on the run and enabled both of those teams to get near 450 yards of total offense. And so I think it's going to be interesting here that this is now Mullings, Caleb Mullings, Michigan's starting running back, is 233 pounds. So he's sort of that ilk. And, Coach, you know this well. You know, it's one thing. If you're a 200-pound running back, you hit the hole's going to hit you back, right? At 215, it's neutral. You're gonna win some. The defense is going to win some, but it's kind of neutral. But at 230, if you're sort of running downhill, you're going to win more often than you lose at 230, and you're going to inflict some pain on that front. And by the third quarter and into the fourth quarter, they're going to start wearing down, lose their pop a little bit, and that's going to sort of open up play action. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see how the Danton Lynn scheme in this particular game is going to play out, because that's Michigan's only hope, Coach, is Mullings is at 233 pounds, and they've got Donovan Edwards, and they've got Orji at 236 pounds. This is going to be a game where Michigan is going to run the ball 40 to 45 times a game, and they're going to be very selective in terms of play action and finding openings. And so that, to me, is going to be a very unique chess match here. I think USC comes out on top, to our point, just because there's just too much firepower. There's too little margin for error for Michigan. But that's a matchup to watch, because that was the one susceptibility of the Danton Lynn defense last year when they went up against bigger backs.
Do you think they're going to run 40 times to keep USC's offense off the field?
Yes.
I think that's the worst thing you could possibly do.
I agree.
And I'm going to tell you why. The reason why you don't want to do that is because if you have a 6-minute drive, right, and you don't get anything. So you start on the 25, you have a 6-minute drive, and you get to the middle of the field. You end up having to punt from the middle of the field, and you pin SC back. SC has the ability to score in 3 plays, right? Now you have the ball back. You're down 7-0, and say the same thing happens to you, or you do get a successful drive. You take it into the next quarter, but you only get 3. Now you have to kick the ball off. SC gets the ball on the 25. SC scores again, 14-3. You just had 2 possessions. SC had 2 possessions, and they're able to capitalize, and you're running out of game fast. You get what I'm saying? Like, killing the clock doesn't work on explosive teams, right? You have to play your game with explosive teams, and this is just like last year with UW. I was like, don't try to score for score. Just control the game and play your game. Michigan has to control this game, but I don't know where they control it. That's the only thing. There's so many questions out on Michigan. I don't know where they can control it. We know where SC can control the game. Oh, Makai Lemon's having a bad day? Okay, let's go to Big Deuce. Deuce is having a bad day? Let's go to Kyron Harper. Oh, he's having a bad day? Let's go to Woody Marks. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many people we could go to if you're having a bad day. There's so many options. Michigan has one option, maybe. You know what I mean? Like, all right, Edwards, let's feed Edwards. Oh, that's not working. Let's go to Orji. Let's say Orji rolls an ankle. Now we got to put Davis Guy
Warren,
and
a.k.a.
Davis
Mills.
Yeah, I'm about to say Davis Mills again. We have to put Davis Warren in again. And we have to put Davis Warren in again. Now we're in trouble because we're really going to run the ball, and we can't run the ball. You get what I'm saying? Like,
No, Coach, I'm with you. I mean, I look, I think you and I are on the same page. Texas beat this team 31-12. I think this is going to be a similar score. I mean, let's just sort of put it out there. But I think Michigan's only hope in this game is they got to win the toss and they got to get the ball, in my opinion. And I think they need kind of that first drive to be 7-8 minutes. You know, if you can sort of set the tone, and even if you kick a field goal, you take 7-8 minutes off the clock, you run a lot. It's kind of your classic 3 yards in a cloud of dust. SC gets the ball. It's rare for, I think, this particular offense. It's been a 2-game sample, but I don't know if I see this team first drive, 3 plays, 80 yards, touchdown. You know, they're a little bit more methodical. We saw it against LSU, a lot more methodical drives. The last drive, of course, was epic, but, you know, and the last 2, but leading into that game, you know, you sort of have to work your way into a big game. And so if you're Michigan, you're sort of counting on, we'll take 7-8 minutes, maybe SC takes 6 minutes, you know, and now, boom, it's the end of the first quarter. You know, you're trying to kind of limit the possessions in the first half, get the game to the second half. And I think what's going to be interesting with Michigan is, do you pressure Miller Moss? You know, and sometimes pressure backfires because it sort of opens you up to the big play, you know, on the back end. Or do you say, you know what, maybe we want to rely on the fact that let's make SC go 10 plays, 12 plays, 14 plays. And then in that process, maybe there's a loose throw by Miller Moss, or Woody doesn't protect the ball perfectly on one particular carry, or there's a little bit of a miscue inside the red zone on a penalty, and we're kind of buying, you know, a stop or buying a field goal. That's the only way I kind of see Michigan's being able to stay in this game. They're going to have to really slow down the tempo. They're going to have to play the game kind of on their pace and their terms. And they're going to need to sort of take advantage of any miscues SC has on offense. But if SC's kind of rolling, Coach, with the offense and the scheme that they have, this is just a bad matchup for Michigan. And I expect this to be sort of a similar 27-13, 30-13 kind of outcome.
That means in 26 is going to be a really good game because they're going to be better in 26. I'm just being honest. They're going to be better in 26, so it's going to be a really good game. And they're going to try to get their get back, and they're going to come to the Coliseum. That's all that means. You got anything else before we wrap this thing up? I think we had a very good conversation. Do you agree?
I think so too, Coach. When do we not? And I think if my sort of memory and math serves me correctly, I believe we're going to go live, and I believe we're going to go live from the barbershop, because Mr. Ryan Dyrud is going to have to sort of shave his beard live, as we have declared, 3-0 is the day that Ryan gets to show his beautiful baby face to our whole LAFB community here. So I think it's going to be sort of live at the barbershop, Coach, on Saturday late afternoon.
So, wait, but there was a bet with you, too. What was your bet to grow out the beard?
So my bet, okay, to grow out the beard, let's just, sort of be clear there, is that they had to go, what did we say, 6-0 or 8-0? We said something like that. It was either 6-0 or 8-0 for me to sort of have to grow this thing out.
Oh, shit, man.
I mean, it might. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the way it's going, I think we're in great. I mean, the only thing that's sort of standing in the way of me having, a beard that, is going to get the party started at airport security is Penn State, I think. That's
you can
the
still
only one.
Trim it. You can still trim it.
For sure.
You don't have to let it grow out. But
that's fair. That's fair. Although, Coach, I will say, the new baby on the way here, we're days away. I don't know if the missus is gonna fly here. I'm gonna have to sort of, earn another bet somehow. I don't know if the missus is gonna let me sort of go beard with the new baby.
Yeah. Final score.
USC 30, Michigan 13.
Yeah, I had 31-10. I can
Absolutely.
see 31-10. I can see 31-10.
The Trojans are going to score 10 more points than the Dodgers did today, and Michigan's going to have 3 more points than Shohei had today. So
yeah, it was. I should have started off with that. Great day in LA sports. Shohei, first person in the 50-50 club. 51 stolen bases, 50 home runs, or I think I have it.
Yeah. No, one of the great days, Coach, in the history of regular season baseball. I mean, my God, bonkers. 6 for 6, 3 home runs, 2 stolen bases, 10 RBIs, 2 doubles. I mean, it was a video game out there.
And he was going for the cycle when he got thrown out. He was pushing for the cycle. That was crazy. And they scored 20 points. But they still had me worried. But that's a different conversation for a different day. I'm worried that it's going to be disappointing this year because of the injuries. Just a bad year. So, but we could talk about that another day. Actually, when the Dodger channel comes on the LAFB, you can go ahead and listen to that for upcoming Dodgers, upcoming Lakers. If you want to listen and talk about the other team with Madman and my guy Will the Thrill, you could go listen to him on the Bruin Bible. I'm sorry we said that here. We also got the Rams with the Skinny T, and we got Dan Wilkerson with the Chargers Unleashed. All that on LAFB Network. Also, if you want to get into fantasy football, we got my favorite buddy, Spencer Tad Desai. We got our man, I'm going to say his name wrong. I always want to say Amir. Amr Desai. I got it right.
No, it's Coach, it's Amr Mills is the full name. Okay.
Amr Mills. There you go. Amr Mills Desai. You know what? Tad screws everybody's names up. So, and they watch the show from time to time. Watch the show, and then Tad's going to give me a ration of shit like, you were just butchering his name.
Totally.
Yeah.
Our brothers from other mothers, the Desai guys. We love those guys.
Yep. If you want to get a fantasy, go watch them. Don't forget to go to betonline.ag where the game starts, all the up-to-date live odds and action is all there. And if you want to get into fantasy and make a little money on it, is Underdog Fantasy. Go to underdogfantasy.com or if it's the app, put in promo code USCLAFB and get a $100 match. Man, we got another one in the books. I will see you Saturday, 4:30-ish Pacific Standard Time for another victory weekend. We'll just call it a victory weekend because we're going Saturdays and Sundays now, but another victory weekend. I'm excited. I can't wait for this to happen. We're moving forward. We're looking for 3-0, but we got to go 1-0 first before we could go 3-0 overall. So let's go 1-0 and get another victory. You got anything else before you get out of here, Madman?
It's going to be a great day.
Appreciate you guys for watching. You guys know how it goes. Live free. Fight on.